Welcome everyone to Podcast Some Mores. I'm so excited and honored to have Ethan Hershman here with me today and to tell his story and tell about Move to Heal. And I just wanted to see how you're doing today, Ethan.
I am really excited today. My first podcast,
Yay.
so hopefully I'll be okay. But I'm super excited for what's going on in my life now with Move to Heal, and to share this with all your listeners and you, and yeah, so it's all good.
Good. And I just want to tell everyone a little bit about how I connected with you. You had written, I have been sober now for, not that I'm counting, 708 days. So I'm almost at 2 years.
Yay.
Yeah. Yay. And my life has changed drastically from it. And so I'm really, obviously I'm a promoter of that and mental health and wellness and all of that. But when I saw your Facebook post about the Move to Heal movement that was at Greenwich CrossFit, I was so pumped that there was some other way of recovering and a community that could support myself and other people that are going through whatever they're going through. So I jumped in right away and came to the first Move to Heal. It was a CrossFit class that actually did kick my ass a little bit because I hadn't moved my body like that in a while. And then a recovery meeting that was not like any recovery meeting I've ever been to. And so yeah, that's how we know each other. And that was 3 months ago, I believe. And I just want to read your bio to everyone so they know a little bit about you.
Okay, great.
Yes. So Ethan has been an entrepreneur for the last 40 years. His companies include Canusa Hershman Recycling, Newport CH Trading International, NCH Trading, Evergreen Fibers, Woodland Power Products, and Greenwich CrossFit. And I have no idea when you sleep. Ethan struggled with alcohol and addiction during his late teens and all of his 20s. Only after nearly losing his life to cocaine overdoses and all his relationships and families did he surrender to the disease. He credits his over 27 years of sobriety to the 12 steps of AA, a solid community, fellowship, taking life one day at a time, healing the mind, body, spirit, and helping others. He's passionate about helping those who are afflicted with addiction and other life traumas. Ethan recognized that the big part of his success in fighting his disease was that he was fortunate enough to have the resources to help outside of AA. He was able to get therapy, join a gym, get the proper nutrition planning, and work in the community. Most people coming into recovery don't have the resources to do these things. And his vision with Move to Heal to have these resources available for anyone coming into recovery, regardless of their financial situation. The concept of putting as many hurdles between the recovery person and the next drink, drug, or whatever as a way to develop long-term recovery is why he founded Move to Heal, which is here in Greenwich at Greenwich CrossFit, and the 4 pillars of service it offers. Did I cover everything?
I think so.
But I wanted to get it right.
I think you got it.
You got it. Cool. Well, let's jump right in. Can you tell everyone, I think we'll start, of course, we're going to go into your story and what you did to massive recovery and just what it takes and what it took you. And obviously you've been doing this for a long time. 27 years of being sober it's a long time. So I absolutely want to cover that, but I do want you to tell people about Move to Heal. And
okay. So telling a little bit about Move to Heal will be sort of the end of the story first. You have a movie that you see the end of the story and then you tell what led up to it, right?
Yeah, I think that's sort of the way we should do this.
Yeah. So for years, actually decades, I have been going to AA meetings, literally 5 to 7 meetings a week. And I have been watching people die every year from overdoses, car crashes, suicides, from heroin, alcohol, other types of drugs. And I've been, and I go to at least 6 wakes a year. I mean, I do. That's really the sad part of recovery is that you have to, when you're in recovery, you see this stuff.
Yeah.
So I always wondered, why me? Why am I surviving and not relapsing while all these other people are dying? And I always thought, oh, well, I go to AA, I work the steps of the program, I do what I'm supposed to, I do service work, I have a sponsor, I do all these things. And those are really important things to do. I mean, those are really important. But I never realized that there was another piece to this, really until this year. And it happened not by me coming, working on this and trying to figure it out. It just kind of happened. I was exposed to a couple of other places that were doing recovery workouts and then recovery meetings. And that was, that's what they were doing. And then I found out about a place in Utah called Fit to Recover, which has been working a very similar program as to what we're doing in Greenwich for the last 7 years. Locally, in Guilford, Connecticut, a guy by the name of Clint Zeidenberg, who runs Guilford Athletics, had a program with the recovery meetings and the workouts, and I started going to them. And this is where I live, so it was my recovery community that I saw going to these things, and it was really working. And the light bulb went off, and I realized when I got sober, I still had my business. I still had money that I had been, at the end of my addiction, I was sort of what we call a weekend warrior, so to speak, because I was able to function somewhat during the week to work. Yeah. And come Friday at noon till Sunday night, I didn't sleep, and I really didn't ingest anything but cocaine and alcohol for those 4 days of the week. If I had a hamburger over the weekend, I'd be like, wow, I put some nutrition in my body, Yeah. And when I got sober, I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me I was malnutritioned. He said, you also should see a therapist. And he suggested that I start exercising. So I did all of those things.
Were you not, because you're in such good shape, like people don't see you right now, but you are in fabulous shape. And that's something I know you work really hard on, but were you not a big, like either athlete or workout person then, or just?
Well, it's kind of hard to be a big workout person when you're staying up for 4 days a week. But aside from that, I did sometimes make it to the gym, but not really. I mean, I liked sports when I was growing up. I was very active. Yeah. But once I got addicted to alcohol and cocaine, that was your sport. Definitely way down the list of things I needed to do. Yeah. So, maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday each week, I might get some sort of exercise in. But that was back in the day when I felt like if I went to the grocery store, I accomplished something. So getting to the gym wasn't high on the list.
You brushed your teeth twice a day.
Yeah, exactly. So I had those resources. I became a distance runner for 17 years. I ran 3 marathons, and then I found CrossFit about 12 or 13 years ago. And I got into that. But I at the beginning of this year, I realized, like, oh my God, the things that I had the resources to go do when I got sober, most people, not most, like almost all people coming into recovery are financially strapped. Right. So they're trying to get a job because they probably lost their job before rehab or whatever, and just trying to keep a roof over their head and some food on their table. They don't have the resources to go to a therapist. They don't have the resources to get a nutritionist, never mind join a gym or do something like that. And that was sort of the genesis to move to heal. That's what I wanted to do. I said, oh my God, I already own a gym. who has two people in there that can absolutely do nutritional counseling. I have a daughter who's a psychologist.
Right.
We're doing this. And I said, we're doing it with no money, and then we'll raise the money later and then start expanding this. So that's kind of how it got started.
Went off.
Yeah. And
like, I can do this.
You were there. June 5th was our first day, and the rest is history. So here we are.
So tell people a little bit about the 4 pillars, so they know what, if you come to Greenwich CrossFit there's now 2 meetings a week,
right.
A little bit more.
Okay, so we have, this is what we have. We basically have these intro fitness classes that are half an hour, followed by a roughly 1 hour recovery meeting. And that's what kind of gets you into our program to see what we do. Once there, if you enjoy the workout and you find that you're getting something out of that, we offer a free gym membership at Greenwich CrossFit, which allows you to come to any one of the 33 classes we have each week. Now, they're not all intro classes, just the 2 a week with the recovery meetings are the intro classes. And those are free for anybody to come to at any time. But anybody that comes to those then is allowed to have the free gym membership. That's so we have recovery meetings as pillar number 1, the free gym memberships as number 2. Number 3 is that we offer one-on-one free nutritional counseling so people can get their diet straightened out, especially coming into recovery. I don't know anybody that has gone through a rehab program that was in perfect nutritional shape before they got there, or even after they left. So that's the third thing. And then the last thing is we offer twice monthly free therapy with a licensed psychologist in the state of Connecticut. So that's available to anybody suffering from any addiction, any mental illness, or any life trauma. Essentially the entire population.
All of us. Exactly.
Yeah. And as long as you have the courage and the strength to admit the problem and come to the meetings, these things are available.
Yeah. And I love that part of it, that it's not just for alcoholics or addicts, but it's also, there's people in there that are really struggling with grief and loss. And there's people in there that have kids who they're very worried about, their own maybe addiction and some mental health problems. I mean, there's PTSD, and there's people with eating disorders. There's the gamut, all of it. And it's such a warm community. You've launched this amazing movement and community, and I love every time I go there. I look forward to it every week. So just wanted to throw my 2 cents in with that. So
Thank you.
I think we'll go back to move to Hill a little later in the conversation, but I really do want to get to your story with addiction and alcohol. It was pretty serious, and you have told all of us that you came very close to losing your life and overdosed, I think, a few times. And I would love for you to share. You pretty much hit rock bottom and had to make a decision, I think. So I'm going to just let you take over.
Okay. Well, thank you, Charlotte. And I will start with. My name is Ethan. I am a drug addict and alcoholic, and
hello, Ethan.
and I will be for the rest of my life in recovery, hopefully. But I'll start at the beginning. I was brought up in a town a little between New Haven and Waterbury called Bethany. It's a little sort of horse town. Actually, still is a bit that way. Upper middle class family. I had parents who loved me to death. I was the youngest of 4 children. I was born 6 years after my brother and my 2 sisters, and they were all born within a year of each other. So I was truly the baby. And as I was growing up, I grew up with a mother who had severe manic depression. And I was born in 1963, and the reason why I mention that is not so everybody can know how old I am, but just that when I was growing up, there was no medication for that illness.
Yeah.
So my mom had an extreme level of this illness. She was suicidal on the mania side and also on the depressive side. So I mention that because I didn't realize it until I was in my 30s, really, after I got sober, how much that had affected my life.
Yeah.
My mother always seemed to love me. She would take care of me the best she could. I never knew that that illness was affecting me. I never knew it. But I say that because when there was some very traumatic times in my life. When I was 7 years old, she came home from grocery shopping. I was homesick that day, so I was alone in the house.
Mm-hmm.
She went out grocery shopping. She came home, and she smashed the groceries all over the kitchen. Went downstairs, destroyed my sister's bedroom, and then took a bunch of pills and went and laid down on her bed.
Yeah.
Which time I called my dad, he came home. She ended up in the psych ward at Yale. And, I didn't think too much of it back then. I didn't think anything of that. And I'll just put a pin in that. That happened again when I was 16, but just put a pin in that and I'll come back to that. So
very, very scary to watch that, I'm sure.
Yeah, very scary, very traumatic, and very life-changing for a 7-year-old, but not the 7-year-old didn't know it was life-changing.
Right.
I really just didn't. I had no idea. So anyway, I lived a fairly, pretty normal childhood. I mean, I went to school, I had friends, played sports. The one thing I was very entrepreneurial at a young age, and this actually gets into my mother's mental illness, but I'll touch on that later. I sold candy in grammar school and junior high. And one of the things I loved about selling candy was everybody came to my locker. Right? So you probably know where this story's going. So in high school, I started, experimenting with alcohol and marijuana at about age 14. I smoked pot every day from the time I was 14 till 30, every day. Alcohol was kind of a weekend thing. I didn't really like it that much. I would do it. My friends were doing it.
Yeah.
It kind of made me tired. I didn't like getting drunk and getting sick. It wasn't that appealing to me until I discovered cocaine when I was 16. Cocaine and alcohol were the perfect mixture for me.
Where did you get cocaine at 16? Just curious. And I know this is
Well, where did I get cocaine at 16? Well, I had skipped a grade. I don't know if that.
Wow.
But I skipped Well, it was kindergarten. It wasn't a whole real grade.
I thought you were like this genius, intense.
But I was a year younger than everybody else in my class. And then the kids in my neighborhood were a couple years older than me.
Right.
So when I was 16, I was hanging around with a lot of people that were like graduating high school, and we did a lot of people that I hung around with didn't go to college. So, but they knew where to get drugs, and
Gotcha.
Eventually it became something that was pretty easy for me to get. So
that makes sense.
So that's kind of what happened. But I started when I was 16, and then it was just fun. I mean, I had a great time with cocaine from, well, probably 16 to 20, but at 18 is when I realized I was addicted to it.
Yeah.
I realized it. I became aware.
You had some,
but I wasn't ready to do anything about it because my life wasn't falling apart. But somewhere, how old was I? I guess, yeah, right when I got into cocaine, I realized this is really expensive.
Yeah.
I'm working a part-time job making $30 a week. That's not going to cover this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to start doing a few things. So I started selling marijuana and then ultimately cocaine. I became a drug dealer.
Wow.
And that was the coolest thing ever for me in high school because I was the center of attention.
You must,
everybody.
and you probably made a lot of money and could do whatever you know.
I made enough money to keep getting high and buy a few nice things, but yeah, I wasn't, I wasn't like this gigantic big time drug dealer that wasn't a cocaine cowboy or anything like that. But
And you were
nonetheless,
spending part of it.
what's that?
You were spending part of it on keeping the drug habit.
Oh yeah, exactly. So that was sort of the beginning of it ramping up, and I met my wife at 16 years old in high school, and believe it or not, I'm still married to her. So
I know you are, and
so
it's a great marriage too.
So she was kind of along for the ride, and we were having fun. We were having a lot of fun. I graduated high school when I was 17, and I went to college. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go right into the family business, which was the recycling business.
Right.
It had been started by my great-grandfather.
That's exciting.
So I really wanted to just go into that. And my dad said, no, you have to go to 4 years of college. Then you can come into the family business. Well, after a year, the business was not doing so well. He let me get involved immediately, and I quit school, got into the business, and that's a whole different story. And I won't get into that. But that allowed me. I got married at 20 the following year. I really wanted to keep this image of keeping a really rapidly growing life while being a weekend warrior cocaine addict.
Right.
So like on the outside, wow, look at Ethan, he's doing so good. But behind that facade, there was this guy that was drinking and drugging pretty much from, on the weekends it was cocaine. At that time it was like Friday night, Saturday maybe. And then that was it. And then I'd be sort of maintaining with alcohol and marijuana during the week, but not out of control. Not out of control. Right. Not yet. So I got into my 20s. My father actually sold his business when I was 23 years old, and I started my own in the same industry. And this is when by this time my cocaine use and alcohol was starting to blend into my work. I was able to use it to get clients and do stuff with people, and it was crazy. I didn't sell drugs anymore. I stopped that when I got married.
Okay.
Because I had the business. I was working. I was making enough money to just buy my drugs. So I can't believe I was that smart to do that, but I did. That was kind of by accident, I guess. And then, late 1990s, she got pregnant. And at first I was like, great, there's more drugs for me. She can't do anything now.
Right.
But what was really happening was she was like done, because it's time to have a family and we're going to put this behind us. And we had our daughter, and my oldest daughter, Allie, who is the psychologist now.
Yeah.
We had her, and this is when our marriage, we started going in opposite directions. Like, she was like, you got to be responsible and be a family man and like show up,
Right.
And I was going out on a Friday night and saying I'd be back, I'm going to go get a bottle of milk and I'll be back. And I'd come back Monday morning.
Was there a part of you that was like on board with that? Like, yes, I we have this family now, and I have this, my own business and all that. And you wanted to be there, but the addiction was so strong pulling you. Like,
absolutely.
So there was
I never was able to play the tape all the way through. So I would say, all right, I'm going to go out. I'll pick up a bottle of milk on the way home. I'm just going to go to the bar, get a couple drinks.
Have one.
Yeah, have one. I'll come back. And that always turned into getting cocaine. And then after a certain hour, this is how my brain worked back then. After a certain hour, so let's say I leave the house at 8 o'clock. I'm supposed to be home at 9 o'clock, right? Yeah. It's 11:30. And now I'm like, I'm in trouble anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. It can't get any worse. I'll just stay out. And then I'd show up, the next day or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that was the way my sick brain was kind of okay with all this. and I was still paying the bills and doing what I was supposed to do as financially for the family. But I was unreliable. I was really destroying my marriage at the time.
Mhm.
I was lying about everything and where I was, who I was with, blah, blah, blah. I was just, all that whole cycle had started. And yeah, it was that. So that went on for the next year or so. So because my daughter was about 2, and what had happened was I was getting caught all the time. So I had to figure out a way to not get caught. So I had a business up in Rochester, New York, and I had to go up there at least once or twice a month. So what I would do, I would plan a business trip up there. I would say it was really a 1-day trip, and I'd say it was 2 or 3 days. And I would go, I'd usually drive to Syracuse, get a hotel room, and then drink and do cocaine for like 20 hours,
Wow.
And this is the horrible thing that happened to me on a regular basis. And this is when I became suicidal.
Yeah.
I would be in that hotel room, and it would be like 4 o'clock in the morning, empty bottles all around me, beer and vodka. Those are my 2 things I like to drink with the cocaine. The cocaine's gone. I have to get up at 6 to be
Your
somewhere.
heart pounding. You feel
Yeah, heart's pounding out of my chest. I'm starting to come down from the cocaine. There's no more alcohol to sort of numb all that.
right.
And I'm feeling like I never, ever want to do this again. I am so ashamed of who I've become. I just, I don't know how I'm, and this is after like this happening like 50 times, right? So I'm like, I can't stop. I feel like the thought of climbing up to the top of the roof of the hotel and jumping off happened every time.
Wow.
Thankfully, I never did it.
Yeah. What?
But
What stopped you? Can I ask what stopped you like that? Because those voices are strong, and when you get to that place, I think, from what I hear, is that you feel like people would be better off without you when you're in that space. I don't know, or if you were just consumed with how am I going to get out of this? There's no way out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, Charlotte, what stopped me was the thought of my family,
Yeah.
the thought of the people that relied on me at work, things like that, and I would just somehow not do it. I never got to the point where I actually rode the elevator up and checked it out, but
Right.
that thought was there every time. And
Yeah.
and then what would happen is the next day I would either make it to work or not make it to work. It doesn't really matter about that. But about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I'd actually be able to feel well enough to maybe have some soup.
Right.
Maybe.
Something.
Yeah, maybe. Right. And then maybe smoke a joint. Right. Yeah. And somehow, get to sleep, wake up the next day and feel a little better, and then by that next day in the afternoon or the evening, the only thing I would remember is what that first shot of vodka and the first line of cocaine felt like when it went down. That's the only thing I can remember. I forget about the suicide. I forget about how miserable and horrible and ashamed and terrible I felt about myself. I forget about how much I hated myself.
Right.
I would just be thinking about that again. And then until whenever, right? Until the next time I would do it.
Right.
And what the program of recovery has given me is to be, here it is, 27 and a half plus years later, I still remember exactly what it felt like at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's that really helps me, the ability to play the tape through.
Yeah.
To the end of how I really felt helps me recognize what I need to do each day so I don't go back there. Right.
Yeah. That terrifying. I mean,
terrifying.
So, and self-loathing and the shame and all of it, I'm sure.
Exactly.
So go back there, that keeps you.
Yeah, so throwing, a few more ingredients into this soup of active addiction
Right.
was, prior to this, was those few overdoses that I had, where I had smoked so much crack that I was laying in bed. I couldn't move hardly, and my heart rate was somewhere around 160 to 180 beats a minute, laying in bed. And I felt like my chest was going to explode. Like literally, it was just going to blow. My heart was just going to blow up, and I couldn't catch my breath. And I ended up in the emergency room twice as a result of that. And the doctors told me, you're 29 years old and you almost had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And if you keep putting cocaine in your system, you will have a heart attack. I mean, it's coming. The way you're using, you are going to die if you keep this up. And that didn't even stop me. I mean, that didn't even stop me. So what sort of getting to the end of this was my daughter was 2.5 years old, and we were going to a conference on recycling in San Diego on a Monday, and this is like a Friday. So and my mother-in-law was coming with us. She had never been to California. She was going to watch the baby for us, and we were going to go to this conference, and it was going to be great. And of course, we were going to be in California for a week. So I was like, well, I have a friend in California. I'm going to pick up some cocaine, go down and spend a day with a friend, and nobody will know. So it'll be great, But I could never hang on to cocaine for 5 days and not use it. That was like insane, right? So I pick it up on a Friday night. We're going to leave on Monday now, right? Pick it up on Friday night. And my wife tells me that she's going shopping in New York all day Saturday with her friend.
Mm-hmm.
Can you babysit? I'm like, of course I can babysit. No problem. And now I have nobody to watch me, and I have the cocaine. So as soon as she walks out the door, I start drinking and using coke. And I couldn't take care of my daughter. I fed her once, I think, and I may have changed her diaper once, but when my wife came home, she was starving, she was in a dirty diaper, and I didn't take care of her.
Were you lying on the ground somewhere, or were you on a couch, or?
I was hiding in the bedroom.
Oh.
This is
awful.
Yeah, it was absolutely awful. And
for everyone.
And this sort of thing, not like this had happened where I was now I'm shame, like I'm sitting there going, I can't even babysit anymore. What the, what is going on with me?
All the what ifs with your daughter, I'm sure, kept into your head, into your wife's head, I'm sure.
Oh, it was absolutely horrible. So she comes up to the bedroom, and I'm expecting, normally when I got caught, she would yell and scream at me. She'd throw me out of the bedroom, and then wouldn't talk to me for a week or so, and slowly, and I'd be really good after that. Like I'd act like a really good guy, and she let me back in, right?
Yeah.
This time, she says to me, she sits me down very calmly and says, "Look," she goes, "I can't believe you did this, but now I have to accept the fact of who you are. And you are a drug addict and alcoholic, and I can't have my daughter raised by a drug addict and alcoholic." So these were these are the words that have stuck in my brain forever. And then she said to me, "If it was just me, I love you so much that I would probably just live with this for the rest of my life, but I can't let my daughter grow up this way. So when I'm going to go to California with you, because my mother's never been there. But when we get back, you have got to go." So
go to therapy or leave? Like
leave, get out, done. We're done.
Wow. Okay.
So, okay. But
I would have done the same thing if I were.
Now
I understand.
I'm sitting there. I still got some coke left.
Oh, okay?
God. And she goes, "I can't stand you being around me right now. Get out of the bedroom. Just leave. Get out. You can stay in the other part of the house. Just get out of my face." And I didn't think about anything she had just said.
Right.
The only thing I thought of was, I still got some Coke left. I'm going to go finish this. That's the only thing I thought of. And then, and you know, I'm not proud of the way I felt, but this is how the disease takes you, right?
Yeah.
So then I do the cocaine, I finish up whatever. And then the thought is, I'm going to be there for 10 days. I will get her back and she will take me back in. That's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not thinking I'm going to quit. I'm not thinking any of that. This is what I'm going to do. And then when I get back, I'll go to AA for a while. I had done that a bunch of times too when I got in trouble before, and never meant it, you know.
I'll kind of do what needs to be done to get
to get back in the
you're
house.
Still not like getting the full picture of like, I've got to go to
Right.
and stop and do
exactly.
Okay.
So I go to San Diego with her. I treat her like an absolute queen. I had all the AA literature because I'd been in and out of the program a bunch of times.
Mhm.
Never wanting the program, never being serious.
Had you ever been to a meeting before?
Oh yeah, I went, and I'm kind of, this is a little backfilling the story, but I had gotten in trouble the last 5 years of my using. So every time I got in trouble, I'd go to AA for a month.
Okay.
But I never planned on stopping.
Yeah.
Like I might stop for a week or something, but that would be about it. And then I'd sneak it and go to AA. But anyway.
Okay. So San Diego, right?
What's that?
You're in San Diego.
So I go to San Diego. I got my big book with me, my AA literature. I'm fake praying. I'm doing everything, right? And sure enough, on the way home, she says to me, she goes, you know, I think I'll let you back in the house if you go back to AA.
Mm-hmm.
But then she added this, because she had a friend whose husband was in AA. And she says, but you've got to go to these meetings with this guy, Kenny Orsini, and you got to ask him to be your sponsor, which I did. So I came back, I hooked up with this guy, Kenny. He starts taking me to meetings, and it was a miracle.
Yeah.
I wanted to be sober all of a sudden.
Wow.
I don't know what did it. It was just like spirit. I finally had been beaten over the head enough times. I think my higher power finally said, he's not getting it. I got to just give it to him.
Yeah.
You know, and I came back and I immersed myself in the AA program.
Was there, that's like an epiphany, and there's people that say like all of a sudden and for me too, like there was the day I woke up and said, that's it, like you're done. Like, and it, you know, and I had done stretches of 40 days, but there was finally a moment, but it sounds like you hit that moment and something just.
It was my bottom. I mean, I think it was the shame of my daughter not being able to take care of her. I think it was also, I knew that if I didn't have my wife to kind of, you know, govern me, so to speak, that I would go off the abyss. I was going to die.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to die.
Yeah.
And that was scaring me. And then for whatever reason, I just wanted it. I don't know. I really don't understand what that was all about, but I didn't, like, I used to go to meetings when I didn't want it. And I had gone enough that I knew people that had stayed sober for years, and I would stay away from them so I didn't catch sobriety because I didn't want it.
Wow.
And I mean, I just didn't. And this time I went in and I was like, I wanted to learn everything as fast as possible. The only problem I had was I didn't have a spiritual connection with anything.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in God. My parents were atheists. I was like, those steps, forget about it. I'm never going to do those. It says God all over them. So I couldn't understand that piece until I had 30 days clean, and I went to a meeting with my sponsor, and I collected a chip, my 30-day chip.
Right.
And I walked out of that meeting, and I was so excited because I had never had 30 days before.
Right.
Ever.
And you might have been feeling better too. Like,
yeah, so,
everything.
Oh my God, I felt great. And I'm jumping up and down, and I'm in his truck.
Yeah.
And he looks over at me and he goes, do you really think you did this? And I'm like, of course I did it. Here's my chip.
Right.
And he goes, but you've told me in the last 10 years, every time you tried to stay clean, how many days could you get put together? And I proudly said to him, I said, I got 7 days one time, but now I got 30. And he goes, that's right. You got 30 and you think you did it. And then I thought, oh my God, something happened. And he goes, what's the difference? And because I was still having terrible compulsions to use crack this whole time. And what I would do is I would go to a meeting and the compulsions would drop, and I'd come out of the meeting and I'd be like, okay, I'm good, until I could get to the next meeting 6, 7, 8 hours later, whatever. And then I went through that cycle for a month. So that's what I told him. And he goes, so don't you think something's happening in that meeting that's stronger than you?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I do. You're right. And that was the beginning of me connecting with something more powerful than me.
Right.
And that was the beginning of my spiritual connection that I have today. So,
and
that's kind of
that pull or the light or the almost like this universal support in a way that I think people talk about. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's this thing that like you're taking the next right step, and then you see that it's leading you to another better thing, sort of.
Well, that's exactly right, Charlotte. And essentially what I was able to piece together with this ultimately, and what my belief is today, is that for me, my higher power is sort of the energy and the light in the world that's good and positive. And then there's also a negative energy in the world that I plugged into for a long time. Yeah. And still occasionally, because I have this disease, my brain says, go plug into that. It'll work out great, right? And I still occasionally do it. And one quick story about that.
It still haunts you sometimes.
What's that?
It still haunts you sometimes. You had a very serious addiction, and that high that you craved, I'm sure there's still times that, and then you replace it with healthier things that give you not the same high, but a different high, I think.
Right. So quick story about the negative energy, right? I'm plugging into this positive energy now. I'm going to the meetings. People are telling me like what I should be doing, and I'm listening, and it's working. My life is getting better. A lot better. Physically, I'm feeling better. I mean, a lot of things started changing in the first 6 months of sobriety, just by not ingesting all that crap anymore and that poison. But what essentially, like, that negative energy was still there. And an example of it's this: I was at the gym. I was probably 3 years sober, pouring rain outside, and somebody had parked behind me along the curb where there was no parking spaces. And I pull out and I hit their car. And I get out and I check my car, and there's nothing wrong with it. And their car has a big dent in the fender. And in my old way, I said, screw it. And I left. And I felt bad for a couple of days, and I didn't do anything about it. And then I just forgot about it. And then about 3 months later, I had this brand new sports car, and I had it parked in a parking lot, and I went inside to the store, and I came back out, and my fender's all smashed in. And I just looked up and said, you're like, I get it.
Yeah, you're like, karma's a bitch. I got it. Yeah, I have more work to do.
Yeah, so I realized then that, I can't get away with stuff. It's all going to come back on me. And when I have those thoughts to take the easy way out, I really got to take a pause and really think about what I'm doing, because my brain is out to kill me. It really is still out to kill me. And if I don't do these positive things and plug into that positive energy, the good things won't happen. So to continue on with my story, and I'm almost done. So I get sober, and and I go to meetings and I do everything I'm supposed to do. And I start becoming a distance runner and I get on a nutrition program. And I will tell you, I transformed physically, mentally. I mean,
Spiritually.
so much in that first year. It was unbelievable.
Right.
And I was just on this like, wow, this is great. And then
you were on the
wife,
pink cloud, what they call the pink cloud.
big time pink cloud. And my wife and I were trying to have another child. And we had 5 miscarriages after our first daughter was born, and we were ready to give up. And we went to fertility specialist, found out what was wrong. And then my second daughter was born. And then a year and a half after that, my third daughter was born. And I told them as soon as they were old enough to understand that if their dad hadn't found recovery, AA, and that program, they wouldn't be alive today. Because the last thing my wife was going to do was have any more kids with me.
Right, exactly.
At that time. So and now those 2 kids are 25 and 26, and they've never seen me take they've only seen me take a sober breath. They, when they were teenagers, they called at 3 o'clock in the morning. A sober person answered the phone and took care of their problem.
Yeah.
They've always been able to count on me. I've, my kids are all wonderful. They've had their problems. All kids do. But I'm able to help them to the best of my ability. My life is way beyond my wildest dreams, way beyond the goals that I would have set at the beginning of all this.
And I just want to interject for a second on that, because I hear almost everyone, and you hear this a lot, in Hollywood or with people that are on musicians or whoever it is. Almost everyone that has recovered says that exact same thing. I could never imagine that I would have a life beyond my wildest dreams. I love that. I mean, it gives so many, people don't believe it when they're in the thick of it, but I think it really is so possible.
It's been absolutely amazing. I mean, if I got what I deserved, it wouldn't have been anything like this.
But when I was in that hotel room, when you were lying there and, thinking all these horrible thoughts, and, I think what I feel like just listening to your story is that you really had a lot to live for. A lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
and
I did. It was tons, and I was just dying. I was not living. I was dying. And I mean, that was just, it was a horrible time. But I do say this, that day that my wife came in and talked so calmly to me, and pointed out that she couldn't live and raise her child with a drug addict, alcoholic father. It was the worst day of my life, but it was also the best day of my life.
Absolutely.
Same day.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the amazing piece of this. And then, from all that, in addition to all that, we didn't talk much about this, and I don't want to spend a lot of any time on it really, but my business career flourished. I was able to take that entrepreneurial spirit that I had and just really just expand it to its real potential,
No, I look at the resume, I'm like, what you've done you've never worked for anyone really.
I've had one job my whole life.
Companies, and all of them are thriving, and you've done amazing things in the business world with your life. Like, as I said, I don't know how like when you sleep, but you managed to do a lot. And
well, I will tell you one thing, Charlotte. I at the beginning of all this, and when I was back using and stuff like that, even I was pretty driven then. And I thought that was the most important thing in my life. Like, have a successful career and everything else will be great. And that is so wrong. have successful relationships and everything will be great.
Right.
And that's what I look at now. Like, my relationships in my life are the most cherished and important things that I have. I can't tell you how, I could, all that's business stuff, you could just throw it away for one relationship that I have.
Absolutely.
I would give it up. I mean, it's just, you know, that's what makes me me, is the relationships that I have and that I continue to be able to develop. And, you know, that's the one thing I really, you know, we talked about this the other day at Move to Heal. Like, none of us knew each other 3 months ago, and now we are such a tight-knit family already, you know, that it's like we count on each other to be there, and we're there for each other. We can help each other, and this is how it works, and this is what it's all about. And as far as, you know, Move to Heal goes, it's like I found my calling. I stepped down from my recycling company as the formal CEO. I'm still an owner, but I stepped down in January, and I had no idea I was going to do Move to Heal then. Wow. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Did you just get to the point where you're like, I want to do something else more meaningful? Because
no, not really. I got to the point where this guy that was working for me was doing a way better job than I was. And it's time for me to give him the reins. You know, that's really what happened. And I was fortunately able to recognize that and put him. All the success that you see on my resume isn't because of me. It's because I've been able to surround myself with wonderful, wonderful people. I have a very good, the one thing I am good at is finding good people and putting them in the right seat. And then they make me look good. It's not what I do. I was never really good at anything, but nonetheless, the Move to Heal thing, I feel like I found my calling because I became very into fitness. I started Greenwich CrossFit, 6 years ago with Colleen to change people's lives for the better, because I knew that sort of a discipline would do it, right? And we did that. And now with Move to Heal, now we're like saving lives, which is the whole nother level, right? So that's like, oh, I love that. So I feel like I found my calling. We are narrowly focused and we go deep because it's not like there's organizations out there for people in recovery that will sponsor gym memberships and do things like that. And they throw the net really wide over across the whole country. And it's great. I mean, hey, every little bit helps, right? But I wanted to take a more narrow focus and go deeper by really saying, okay, if these people come into this program and they do these things, they will have a better chance of survival. And I think it's true. And at the very least, their life is going to be better. The very least.
You know, say like that you have been to so many funerals over the year, but now in the last few years, it's even more, and how, you know, horrific it is. And that I love how you always say, if I could just save one life for this, and I'm sure you've already saved one life, like in the last 3 months, you know, in this Move to Heal. And, but I'd love to hear how, and thank you for sharing your story. It's remarkable. I would love to know, do you have a vision for Move to Heal? Like, I do. And I do. Are you comfortable sharing it with us? Oh, of course. Okay. Of course. So Greenwich is really the beta site. Yeah. To see if it was going to work. And it's worked so much better than I thought it was going to work, to be honest with you. And most of that is because of the non-denominational piece of the recovery meeting, where we're not an AA meeting, we're not an Al-Anon meeting, we're not an NA meeting, we're not a GA meeting, an OA meeting, we're not any of those A meetings. Mm-hmm. We're all of those things. And then on top of that, anybody else that's struggling with depression or PTSD, stress, anxiety, can't get over a death in the family, whatever, right? Anything. Life traumas comes in, and, you know, Charlotte, you've seen it in front of your own eyes that
people start connecting in ways you never imagined and never could if they were just solely focused on addiction or alcohol, right? There's other things in there. And I have learned so much from everybody in there, especially the people that aren't alcoholics.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and we support each other and we cry together and we laugh and we clap and we you know, it's just, I never thought this was going to happen like this. I thought it would be like a regular meeting. So,
oh yeah, I was gonna ask you what has surprised you the most in leading, this powerful program, and it sounds like, you're just surprised.
well, that's part of it. The other part is I never expected the number of people to latch on to the physical piece that have. I thought, yeah, we'd get some people in, but a lot of these people aren't. But it seems like this is something that I think people really want. They just don't want to work hard for it to go after it. And then when it's kind of like, okay, here it is, like, just come in, try it. And then we tell them how important it is. And then they try it again outside just the intro meeting and the intro fitness class and the recovery meeting. They try it outside of that. And then they start showing up a few times a week and their bodies start changing and they start feeling better. And then they start feeling better about themselves and that physical mental connection starts happening. That's been pretty amazing to me, how effective that has been.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that. And I think the next sort of evolution that will take place as people are hanging around a little longer will be the nutritional piece, because that only enhances the physical and the mental.
Right.
I mean, you eat the right things, your brain works better,
Your body
so
better, you sleep better, all of it.
Oh, everything. So I'm like super excited. So you asked, where is this going?
Yeah.
Fortunately, I have a pretty good business background on growing pretty large companies. So when I look to scale this thing, I said to myself, well, it's great that I'm doing it at my gym. And I'm not going to open up a gym every time I want to grow this. That would take way too long, and it's not efficient, and it's not the right thing to do. So there's 11,000 class-based CrossFit gyms in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I was already asked this question by some of the donors. How are you going to scale this? So I go to them and I say, look, I've got a program. You've got to give me some time to have my intro meetings and fitness classes and my meetings after. We're going to offer nutrition. We're going to offer therapy. And I'm going to bring members to you and I'm going to pay for them. Would you be interested in that? I think most of them would be, right?
Yeah.
So the gym's already built. They're already out there.
Yeah.
It's really about it's about raising the money to be able to do this. So we're out, I spend the part of the time that you've seen is I spend time trying to get people to come in and use the services. And then the other side of me is spending time collecting money and raising money and talking to foundations and corporate donors and wealthy individuals and that sort of thing. But I hope to ultimately get a pipeline going in on the funding side, because there's not a single person, not one person I've told what we're doing that said that's a bad idea.
Right.
Don't do it. Not one.
I can imagine. And there's everything that's affected by people that, are struggling with, that are going in and out of rehab or struggling with addiction. And I'm sure would be happy to support you.
I mean, it totally helps. And it helps the people in the community that you're in, wherever we are. So my plan is to scale it throughout Connecticut first. Our next stop is going to be up where I live, just because it's more efficient for me that way.
Right.
So we're gonna be starting something on a real trial basis in November along the shoreline of Connecticut, Branford, Guilford, Madison. And then from there, we're just going to expand it from there. And really, it's going to be a matter of getting people on board at Move to Heal, that we can get trained in the coaching. And as you've probably noticed, our coaches are always in the meetings.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Mm-hmm.
That's super important. So There's a few things like that that are really the keys to this success, because if our coaches don't go to those meetings, they don't connect with the members, right? They don't make this connection, they're just connecting on a coach to client level. But if they go to the meetings, and our coaches are even saying, I'm not an alcoholic, but these meetings are helping me.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch the coaches and the things that they're struggling with too.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes everybody a little tighter. It brings that recovery community. The whole idea is to have people hanging around with healthy minded people and doing healthy things, and staying away from, their friends that are going to the bar and they're telling, hey, just come and drink a soda with me and, let's hang out. That's not where they want to be. They want to be in with healthy minded people. And if you're being physically active and you're worried about your nutrition, you're not thinking about, hey, where are we going to get that next drink, right?
So the whole hormone piece where you're releasing, endorphins while you're working out, and then you're connecting with people. Again, when you connect with people, you release certain endorphins too that help.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's all positive. And that was one other thing I was told by a PhD in psychology. He said, what you're doing is, and we didn't plan on this, but he said, it's cutting edge. You cannot lift a person out of depression with cognitive therapy. It just doesn't work. You have to chemically change the brain. Yeah. And a lot of people take drugs for that, which is fine. But he said, there's a lot of side effects that they don't want to be on these drugs. Yeah. And the therapy that you're doing, where you do the fitness and then the group therapy meeting, is exactly where this is all headed. So I was like, I just thought it was a good idea. Like, it'd all feel good, and it'd be a good. I said I never really thought about it that way specifically for depression, but that's what I was told. So I hope he's 100% right, and I hope that more and more people will join our crusade against these horrible illnesses that are killing people every day. 196,000 people died last year alone from drug or alcohol related deaths, whether it was suicide, car crashes, whatever. And as I told you, if we can save one or extend somebody's life, which I think we're already doing, it's a huge success. And this is now my life mission. I mean, this is what I was put on the earth to do. So
really, really exciting. Talking a little bit about the financial backing, if someone wanted to have a discussion with you about that, should I just put your email in the bottom of, when I post this in different places?
Absolutely. Put my email up, and our website's movetohealct.org, which you can donate online if you're interested in being a more consistent donor and be a bigger part of what we're doing. Email me, that sort of thing. Absolutely. Yeah.
You can even buy a t-shirt for $40, and I'm sure some of it.
And even buy a t-shirt for $40. Listen, the whole thing is, for me, anything helps.
Right.
If somebody can only afford to donate $5, I am so grateful to that person for that. Yeah. It shows me that people care. It shows me that people want to be a part of this and believe in it. And that just makes my heart glow. So, yeah.
So, well, I'm so excited I found this movement and have had this time with you today to talk about your story and Move to Heal and all of it and where you want to go with it. I think I knew it wasn't just seeing your bio and what you've done with your companies and, all of it. I knew you just didn't want to be in this gym and having these 2 meetings a week. I knew it was going to be much more, or your vision for it is much bigger. Is there anything else you'd like to share with people? Just for people that are struggling, is there anything early on that you had to do, your non-negotiables daily? I would love to just hear.
Well, yeah. So
what do you do to stay above board? Because I know that it's your illness still, anyone that's struggled with any of this has to do a certain amount of things daily or weekly to be okay?
Yeah. So for me, it's meetings, and it's getting, and at those meetings, I see people that I see every day. It's just like going to the gym, and it's just like going to a class-based gym where you see the same people in the same classes. So we get to know each other at the meetings. We get to know each other very intimately at the meetings. And whether it's alcohol or drugs, these are the things, I had to go to meetings until I wanted to go to meetings. And still today, I go to 5 to 7 meetings a week.
Wow.
I talk to my sponsor. I do service work. And I try and help the next person that's suffering. And those are non-negotiable things. Like that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
Other stuff that I do, is important, but those are the things that I have to do. The 12 steps are super important to me, to be a man that has learned how to live sober, because I can be dry and without the substance in my body, but my mind hasn't changed. I'm just still a horrible person that's not drinking, just haven't changed. So in order to facilitate that change for me, it took the 12 steps.
Right.
Movement and exercise is super important to me.
Every
Eating
day.
the right things is super important to me as well. Those are things that I've done. I mean, can you stay sober with all that? Yeah, you could, but this it's more hurdles. It's more distance between me and that next drink, drug, or whatever it is. And I know people suffering with mental illness that if they're capable of moving, physically moving, it always helps. Now, I know some depressions are so debilitating, people can't even get out of bed. And it's very difficult when you're in that state to think about, going outside. But even if you can get up and go out in the sun and take a walk at that point, these are sort of things that I do, having that sort of a routine that has allowed me to be the man that I've become and stay sober and clean as long as I have. And one of the most important things for me is helping others. That's giving it back. I never did that when I was active. It was always, if I did something for somebody, it always came with a price tag. So now it's like, just give, and the reward is in the giving. It really is.
I always say, when you're feeling helpless, help someone.
Exactly.
Then you get outside of you get out of your head.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. And so I'll leave the information for everyone as to where to find you and Move to Heal and all of that. And I'm just so excited to see this. I know it's going to be huge.
Awesome. Well,
so
thank you so much, Charlotte, for having me on. And I can't believe it's already over.
I know, right? That went fast, didn't it? So have a great rest of your beautiful Sunday.
Yes, you as well.